Well, 2025 has been the most humbling year, probably of my life, and I'm going to talk to you guys about a lot of stuff that's gone down. Um, what is that winning team? It's getting to that start. It's that time of the year where I feel the the pull of the deep pits of despair at getting to the end of yet another year. And I'm just still here frolicking around with the world. I'm just still here waiting on the Lord, and I'm fighting with everything I have on the inside not to slip into extremely deep depression. And I wanted to tell you guys about some of the stuff that's been going down, because I think one of the hardest lessons for me about this entire year has been, it's not so much, it's realizing that I've been right all along. Like, what I think things are is exactly how they are. And like, I remember some years back, because I was always like blaming myself or being blamed, I always saw it like, well, I'm in control of myself, so I can change myself. And as long as I can change myself, like, I felt like I was in control of the situation. So I preferred things that way. That's why I feel like I ended up here, because I would always internalize everything and be like, I need to do better, 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 I need to do better. So I would always do that. And that for me was okay, because I was like, I'm in control of that. That means my efforts produce a result, right? We're going somewhere with this, you guys. And it all goes down to a conversation I had with, of course, one of my blood relatives. This thing I tell you guys about, how the enemy is always going to use who's closest to you and who's in close proximity. Basically blow up to me the other day for the second time, about how dare I call my channel the winning team, because, and then they wanted to find a nitpick at something that I didn't do perfectly. And I was like, you know what? It made me realize that I have had throughout my life so many conversations with people that are so blinded. Like, because I was actually talking about this in my video about how jealous people are incapable of empathy. I was thinking to this person, of all the good things that you have seen me do, of all the times I've taken accountability, of all the times I've said, yeah, I was wrong about this. Even during that conversation, I acknowledged things I'd done wrong. And at the end of the day, I'm always the one under the scrutiny. And I realized in that moment that I'm under scrutiny, not because of what I used to think, which is I hadn't done good enough. It's that people are so bothered, right, by my existence, just the fact that I'm minding my business. I don't need the validation of other people. I was like, you don't even have to watch my video. Like, this is when I know I'm dealing with a hater. And I was like, and I told them, like, you're a hater. You're a big old hater. Because you don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to have anything to do with it. Listen, there's a whole internet with millions, probably billions at this stage, of people, and you want to come at me and tell me why in this one scenario, like, I never claimed to be Jesus Christ. Anybody that's watched my channel has seen I cancel myself all the time. And the whole point is that I recognize, because of being myself and because of the things that I've done or do, that I was never going to be able to match up to the level of Christ. So I don't know, a switch just went off in my head after that, of like, I'm not sitting around for this anymore. Like, I'm not sitting around. I'm not going to be the one that people just get to blow up on, especially when, not offense, but like, and this is where now we're bringing out the savagery. Why am I going to care what somebody has to say who hasn't even accomplished anything close? You haven't even accomplished anything close. It's giving hater. It's giving hater. And what I've realized this year, right, guys, is that my standard of love that I've accepted for myself has been so low, like so unbelievably low. Because now that I've actually started to stand up for myself this year a little bit more, and I intentionally earlier this year made the decision that I'm going to stop being so good at just handling everything. I'm going to wear my feelings more outwardly. So rather than internalizing and keeping it together and all that, I'm going to cry. I'm going to get upset. I'm going to do whatever I feel like, because this holding everything back is exhausting. And I'm going to disappoint people. I'm going to allow people to feel disappointed, and I'm not going to rush in to try and fix anything, because anybody, like, why should I? You know what I mean? I should in areas where I'm around the people that God wants me to be around. And so I've got to a stage right now where I have this such clear juxtaposition of the two types of people still in my life. I cannot tell you guys, I am praying for the day that I can be as far away from my own blood relatives as humanly possible, to the point that I can forget that they exist. That's what I'm praying for. Like, genuinely, of just enough is enough. Like, and like, because the thing is, everybody's made mistakes. I've done wrong things as well, but I feel like at the end of the day, some people get more excuses made for them than others, right? Some people, we will endure this person, like the same person that was saying all this stuff to me. I was like, people put up with so much more of your crap than they've ever put up with from me. And how dare you now sit there and try and call me out? That simple fact alone, that I've managed to survive without being coddled the way you have, is another proof of how I am a winner. And I'm not going to let anybody take my winning away from me. If I could be so honest, I've held back a lot of stuff to make everybody else feel more comfortable. I haven't won as boldly as I wanted to. I haven't put myself out there. Have you noticed, guys? I come on here, I roll out of bed, I just talk on the camera. I'm not out here trying to adorn myself and go out in the world and look like a 10 out of 10 every day. I'm just literally living this humble life. And I realize that part of it is I don't want to deal with the uncomfortability of stepping out because of the stuff like this. Exactly, because of stuff like this. And it's always the people you would think. That's why when I hear all these statements of the world about like how, oh, family is everything, or, it's important to have good friends in your life. It's like, yeah, those things are, when they are what they say on the tin. But if they're not what they say on the tin, you're better off by your damn self, right? And also, and it's the truth, this is the humbling part. As a winner, you don't get to choose that whether you deal with situations like that or not. You don't get to choose, because that's what's going to happen, because your existence is going to just bother people. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I've been literally was talking about it like the day before, and I've had a bunch of other phone conversations in the last, this entire year, uncomfortable conversations. And I found that I'm now at a place where mentally I'm actually ready for somebody to come after me and to try and say something about me. I'm ready to bite back. That's the other thing, like, people are not used to me really biting back. They're used to me just sitting quietly and being like, okay, I'm sorry, apologize, whatever, and move on. But no, I'm going to bite back now. I'm going to really bite back at people for things, and I'm going to defend myself, right? Because no one's going to ever defend me anyway, other than the Lord, right? Because this was the other thing that came up as well, was my tattoo, Long Live the Patriarchy, which I cannot tell you how strange it is for a man to be so upset about that tattoo. And I was like, it's giving, I don't want to say the phrase that I'm thinking. Yeah, it's giving, I don't know, guys. I don't like to use bad language on my YouTube channel, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, use your imagination. Like, there's nothing I hate more than when it comes into my brain that I'm talking to a man and I feel like he's acting like a female dog. Like, oh, shame. Like, because now I've got no respect. And you see, the thing is, the worst thing with me is when I've lost all respect, I'm not a very nice person at all. Like, at all. Because now it's like the difference between, like I say to you guys, when I'm approached by guys all the time, when you meet a nice, humble guy, it like brings out like the nicer side of me, and I want to be nice and courteous, and you know what I mean, and all whatever. And it's like when you meet like a guy who's really prideful, it's like I just want to crush his ego, like, you know what I mean, and I enjoy the crushing of the ego, because it's like, you are deluded right now and you don't even know what you're getting yourself into, and you've overestimated your understanding of everything. So I will crush you. Right? Which in a way I feel like I'm doing God's work, because better that you be humbled now than you go and continue with that mentality within your life. And this is what I've realized, because I've been trying to wrap my head around this question to the Lord, that why do some people choose like the losing mentality? Like, why, how do you wake up every day, right? In the world where we all have options for ourselves of what we want to do, what we don't want to do, like everything, right? How we treat others, what we do for ourselves. Like I said, the whole reason I feel like I got here, meanwhile other people didn't get here, is because meanwhile they're watching other people. I'm thinking, what are you even doing looking at my like, why is it that it's even, we don't talk about my YouTube channel, you're not watching the videos, because if you did, you'd realize how wrong you are. But you just heard me call my channel the winning team, and because I called it winning, you're upset when you don't even know that the winning is to do with Christ anyway. It's actually a term of me humbling myself, as opposed to me and being like, thank God Jesus did it, because it ain't happening it ain't coming from any of us. And so therefore I need to really stamp myself in there, because otherwise if I'm there left alone, even with all my efforts. And that's been one of the most humbling lessons. That is the humbling lesson of it all, is that no matter what I do, life and living is a group project, and I can't succeed with the things I want to do now. Like, the dreams are just too big to be achieved by myself, you know what I mean? If I want to go to the underground tunnels and get those kids out of there, unfortunately, getting all of those kids, having somewhere where they can be looked after and getting them all the help that they need psychologically, emotionally, physically, I can't do that by myself. I won't be able to do all of it. You know what I mean? I would have to have other adults that I can depend on, which is something I just don't think exists. In all honesty, I don't think it exists. Like, and I just don't. I feel like this is what I'm saying. It's been the most humbling year. I feel like people are so, because for me, right, and this is why, again, I feel like this losing mentality to think that somebody else like to behave in this manner. Because look, what's happened for me has happened for me. Like, this is why I don't have any desire to like do things like therapy or talk about a lot of things, because it doesn't change anything. What's done is done. Me talking about it or having my feelings coddled, it doesn't make anything different. It doesn't make my life better. It doesn't make me feel better. In fact, it just rubs more salt in the wound. That's why I've realized that talking about my stuff I've been through with people, it makes it worse, because and then I'm just reminded, and then still at the end of it, we're going to have had a nice long conversation and you might all acknowledge my feelings and whatever. But at the end of the day, what's done is done. There's nothing else left to say. Like, and that's why it's not even about unforgiveness or anything like that, because I'm like, look, I forgive you. We're all human. Like I said, we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Fine. But the fact is the damage is done. Like, I'm never going to go back. Like, I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this quite a lot. I hate looking at old photos and old videos of me, even if it's just like 2 years ago, because I just see in my eyes just this innocence and this just dumb, stupid girl who just is so deluded in being so hopeful. Like, that's what I see, and it makes me feel sick. And it's like, there's too much water under the bridge, not just in my life, not even my life alone. If it wasn't just, and this is, I think, what makes it worse. This is what actually makes it humbling. If my life was like, oh, this is what I've been through, but guess what? There's something good on the other side. There's something good over there. Like, I can have hope in that. Great. But it's not like that. It's like, no, this is you. This is your life. And this is reality. This is reality. This is the reality that we live in. We live in a world where people, like, even especially nowadays, growing up with social media, I'm actually so grateful for it, because it's a reminder for me every day of how comfortable people can be to say and do and critique and have an opinion when they are not the ones being held accountable, when they're living in the comfortability of their situation. It's like when I see, that's why I don't judge people like for how they act out. You know, like, it's like when people be like, oh my gosh, this person is a drug addict, so they need to get help, or this person's behaving destructively, they need to get help. It's like, well, maybe they don't have the help. Maybe you don't realize the privilege you have. That's why I'm saying I'm privileged as far as these underground kids. Hey, at least I can come and talk about what I'm talking about on YouTube. I made myself whatever I wanted to eat this morning. You know what I mean? And I'm in control of at least some aspects of my life, not the ones I would like to be. You know, I'm better off than them. So when I see somebody else, if I see somebody else making choices that I wouldn't make, I don't judge them. I don't judge a woman for being a stripper, right? I say this because recently when I've been on my job hunt, right, because you guys know I'm desperately trying to get away from this, and I just feel like, God, when are you going to just free me of the chains of the education system? Please, you know. You know, in my job hunting, it was so funny. One of these sites that I saw them actually advertising a job for one of these clubs, like as I think as a stripper, and I was like, wow. First of all, I never really seen a job like that pop up, like, while I'm on these random sites, like job sites, whatever. But moreover, the amount of money, I was like, you know what? I fully get how, you know, because a lot of people will judge you again for life, because that's the world we live in. It's again another humbling lesson. Whatever you've done, people, it doesn't matter when you did it, doesn't matter how old you are, you're going to be painted like that forever. And that's something else that social media has taught me. I told you it's the same thing with Chris Brown. That's the lesson I learned when I was a teenager and I was quite young. It's like, wow, people will flip on you in an instant. It's things like that that make me not want to have relationships at all and not want to bother with this, because it's like, I have to obviously invest in relationships with people in order to do the things that I want to do, in order for us to make the world a better place. But then people are fickle. That's what I'm saying. Like, 1 minute he was everybody's next Michael Jackson, and the next minute, since he was age 19, I think at the time, or was it Rihanna that was 19? One of them was 18 and one of them was 19. And now he's been labeled for life. And again, it's the classic thing of, because of who he is, because other people, well, we don't talk about their past. We don't talk about the things that they do, right? Kris Jenner, for example, The Kris Jenner has gotten away with so much, prostituting her daughters, being the leader of all this, a lot of this plastic surgery that's ruining my generation, putting all these men on blast on their show. Like every season of Keeping Up with Kardashians, Kanye West pops up again, and it's like, why are we talking about him? You're just trying to make money. I remember, I will never forget, because I used to watch Keeping Up with Kardashians before a lot of the surgery and stuff, when Caitlyn was still Bruce, right? Who was my favorite character on the show, I would say. And I remember, like, even then, her favorite kid would be the kid that's making her the most money. It was always Bruce at the time who would be the one, like, hey, maybe we should put a pause on the business things and also do more things for the family. And she was all money focused and related. But ain't nobody got anything to say about Kris Jenner, executive producing her daughter's sex tape. Ain't nobody got nothing to say about that. Everybody's got everything to say. Oh, Chris Brown, the woman beater, from one incident that you know about on one day when he was 18 and 19, and Kris Jenner gets called the mom, this loving mother. And this is what I've realized is the reality. Like, all the stuff I've been saying on here is exactly how it is. The world, if you're in the world, you feel comfortable there. The reason I feel so much discomfort is because I was so grateful to the word of God for today from this lady I try to listen to every morning, which I've been slacking. So today was the first day I listened to her in a while. Also, I'll be very honest, sometimes it's hard for me to hear the things that God has to say, because I'm like, God, I'm sick of the words and let's get to the action. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of the words. I don't need encouraging things to lift up my spirits. I need my life to change for the better. Like, it's enough is enough, But she was saying in her message, she's like, God is setting you apart. I was thinking that's what I needed to hear, to be honest. I just contradicted myself. But that was confirmation, because that's what I've been holding on to faith for, right? Because I've been holding on to faith that, like, God, you will set us apart. Like that's why I talk about the promised land and the garden experience, and how, like, every time God had his people, they always had their own place where they were not just set apart, like, spiritually, they were physically set apart, like in a different location, like not connected to the world, like doing our own thing. You know what I mean? The world was the one with kings, and then we started to ask God if we could have a king, but we used to have judges. The world has Christmas and Easter and all this stuff. God has the feast of the Lord. You know what I mean? The feast of booths, all these different things. He had his way of doing things. That's even where the language thing was. He was like, my people have their own language. So much of this stuff, and this is again what stresses me out and why I just feel like it's just too much. It's exhausting existing. So much of this stuff that's changed now, it's because we've changed it, not because of God. And then that's why I'm circling back to the words I talked about before, and me recognizing that love really doesn't live here. If God is love, then of course I'm not going to find love in the world or amongst the world's people. I always wonder why, again, how people could be so quick to, like, oh, we care about the kids, but then the kids seem to always be the scapegoats for everything. Parents use their kids as a scapegoat for their bad behavior. Like, you'll lose your temper with your child. You'll say all these horrible things to your child, right? And albeit they are children and they are a lot of work. But then when you're dealing with your boss for the last 30 years, who's also a piece of work, how come you never lost your temper there? Oh, because your job is on the line. With your child, it's just a kid, and you've got yourself and the rest of the adult population to make excuses. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Nowadays I think about all these reasons why people have children, right? To look after you in your old age. I think about the fact, like, these are the things I'm thinking about constantly. I'm thinking about the fact that, like, everybody all seems all excited at the thought of having a child, right? When you're thinking about those pounds of flesh that you just get to do whatever you want with. The second that your child starts to show an ounce of becoming their own person, you have a problem. Oh, terrible twos, they're asking questions. Guess what? Same way that you make the excuse it's your first time at life, guess what? It's their first time at life. They haven't even been here 800 days yet, not even 1,000 days on the planet. So yeah, maybe they are going to ask about everything. You know why? Because they don't know, because it's their first time at living as well. But no, when your old ass is the one who needs to make that excuse in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, then yeah, we're all going to feel sorry for ourselves. But when it's the kids who are defenseless, this is what I realized, because they can't defend themselves, and because they're always going to have to be their dependents, we can just do whatever we want with them. And that's what makes it even more sickening for me. And I'm like, oh, you're really taking advantage of the fact that, like, these kids, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. And that's what made me realize parents actually freak me out. Like, they actually scare me, because there's so much things I feel like that parents get away with, especially behind the scenes, that they're doing. It's another reason why I'm not participating in Christmas, by the way. I think I've actually decided almost fully to sack off all the holidays. All the world's holidays, I think I'm fully sacking them off. I mean, you know what? I might even drop my book on Christmas Day. The one about God's actual holidays, I might drop that on Christmas Day. Because I'm so over it. Like, I'm so over it. I'm over this whole, like, let's all pretend everything is fine and just sweep uncomfortable things under the carpet. Let's just all, like, you know, things like luck and losing. Because, like, this, again, this person I'm referencing is somebody who also talks about being lucky and people getting lucky and diminishes people's hard work. And it's like, because you don't want to take accountability for the fact that you're not making the effort. You're not prepared to put in the effort other people are. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's like when people talk about me and, you know, like, things with me, I'm like, I be up late. I be getting up early. I be getting up early to make videos or to go and, like, you know, work out or whatever, or going to bed late for the similar reasons. I be up for hours doing my studies of the Bible. So don't look at me crazy as if, where did I get all this information from? I simply spent a lot of time with the Lord. Very simple. I made my choice the way we all make our choices. Whilst I'm being isolated and heavily critiqued at every corner, right? I'm off with the Lord. I'm off with the Lord, building a relationship, getting to know him. And this is what brought me here. It's almost like, again, like I said, if ignorance is bliss, then what's the opposite? Because for as far as I'm concerned, and I said this in a video the other day, I think optimism is very low IQ, because a lot of times optimistic people, it's like you're expecting somebody else to step in. Like, it's a whole total lack of accountability. That's what I think Christians don't get about Christianity as well, is when we're a Christian, a real life Christian, then it's you take more accountability rather than less. So all of this concept of, oh, I'm just waiting for Jesus to come and fix things in the world. It's like, no, we are supposed to be the hands and feet. The Bible says the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. That's why I'm like, God, what do I need to do to be a laborer in the harvest? The only thing I can do right now within my own capacity is record videos. But in reality, the things that I really want to do, I don't have the capabilities. I don't have the skill sets. I don't have the opportunities. I don't even know where I'm supposed to be going for a lot of this stuff, like how I'm going to pull it off. But I'm willing, you know what I mean? But then it's like this, then I'm looking at it from the flip side, where I see the people that have those opportunities, have the access and whatever in the body of Christ, and they're using that for their own selfish gain. And of course, that's why they're successful, because then again, they're living in the world, they're living with the world. So of course, the devil is going to platform all of these corrupt leaders and all these people, because they're not trying to do the work. They're trying to line their own pockets. They're trying to justify buying their own private jet for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And the other day I heard a statistic that I think, what was it? And I kid you not, which doesn't surprise me. It's something like, it was like something about how preachers have become the number one purchasers of private jets, like in, I don't know if it was in wherever. And I was just thinking, you know what? I believe it. I believe it. I 100% believe it, because obviously I'm out here crying out to the Lord, because the world isn't going to support what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to do what's counter the world, right? So all the world is going to do is just keep throwing obstacles in my way, things to try and trip me up, things to try and catch me out. And I feel like that's why, in a way, I'm glad that I allowed myself to just like get used to just disappointing people, seeing. And you know what's the craziest part? When I've been like actually confronting more people about stuff, the uncomfortability I feel at seeing them look discomforted, I don't know why that doesn't translate to people with me. Because like, how many times have I been, you know, clearly upset or clearly hurt or clearly crying, and people just sit there coldly. That's the bit that's getting me. In all honesty, it's the coldness of it. Like, you're just coldly there looking at me in a tough spot. Like, and I will never forget this recurring dream I kept having. And it is what it says on the tin, right? It's exactly as it was. I'm here, and it happens to me every now and then. Usually when I'm planning to like do a big filming day on like a new topic, I'll have a dream like this, because this is the silencing dreams that the devil tries, right? And I'll be getting like beaten up or like attacked by somebody, and they'll just be everybody, and it'll always include my family as well. And there'll just be a whole bunch of people just standing there watching, and I'll be like calling out to everyone, like, can you please call the like ambulance? Can somebody, like, do you know what I mean? And no one will show up. And I've just realized that's literally going to be the story of my life. Like, not nobody, because look, I've also made really some actually good friends, like, and I've kind of managed to whittle it down in the last couple of weeks. I got comfortable with that archive button on WhatsApp, mate. That was a game changer. So I was like, archive, archive, archive. I started to archive a lot of conversations with people that I'm just like, look, it's done. Because I realized that the standard was in the bin, because I shouldn't have ever accepted a lot of things that I was accepting. That's the other hard lesson, because it's not so much the realizing I shouldn't have accepted what I was accepting. It's that people really, really comfortably continue certain behavior and don't actually care. Like, that is crazy. That for me is the craziest part of all of this, is realizing that people genuinely did and do not care. And that's crazy to me, because even me, even my worst enemies and everything, there's not a part of me that is lacking in empathy for them, right? Because I understand that life is tough. They go through things. I don't want to see anybody hurt. I don't see anybody hurt. That's what's crazy to me. Even the people who've hurt me, and yet other people can sit so comfortably and see me in pain or see me whatever. You know what I mean? This is why I feel like I get attacked from my YouTube channel, and it's taking everything with it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I finally found my people. I feel like it's threatening that now I'm happening. I've got my own sector of my own community. Now I've been accepted somewhere, and now it's threatening, because it's not the first time that somebody's brought up my YouTube channel. It's also not the first time. I know some people that I'm related to watch my YouTube videos, and it's like, why are you here? You didn't want to listen. You didn't want to. You're here because you get to see what's happening. You get to hear from me because I've got great energy, and that's what attracts people to me. That's why people love to hate and hate to love me at the same time. But then it doesn't cost you anything. It's the same old one-sided relationship situation happening all over again. It's just this time I am doing the work still and making my videos. So I'm saying it's actually quite ironic and funny, some of this stuff, when I think about it. I'm doing the work. You just get to tune in when you do and you don't want to. Like, basically, people can live through the relationship they always wanted with me through my YouTube channel, which is picking and choosing. It's really quite funny. And like, these are the things I've been thinking about. Like, that is really a dark place out here. Like, and especially the higher up the mountain you go. Like, I talked about this mountain aspect the other day. I don't know if you saw, if you guys have seen that video, but I was talking about jealous people and they're incapable of empathy. And, I was talking about how, like, winning, it's like climbing up a mountain, and the higher you go, the less people are going to be there with you. There's also the more people looking up at you who haven't continued. And what are they going to do if people are not humble enough? Because we know humility is part of winning, not part of losing. Humble people are winners, because in order to win, you have to be humble enough to take in the tough lessons when they come, right? Because, like, you might be the best at, like, it's like a sport. You might be the best at a particular sport, like, say, at your school. But then when you start to go and compete at, like, the regional levels, the district levels, the national levels, you're coming up against all the other people that are the best at their school. So do you now have the humility to acknowledge that, oh, you know what I was doing before, I thought I was doing a lot and that was enough. Now I'm realizing that actually I haven't done anywhere close to enough. You know what I mean? I have to actually dig even deeper if I'm going to keep up, because somebody else around there is going to dig deeper than you are. That's the truth. And these are the lessons people don't want to learn. People rather say, oh, you're so lucky to be in that position. It's like, no, it's not. It's not luck. It's really not, because you don't just wake up an Olympian, because otherwise you all would be one. That's the point. You train, you sacrifice your relationships, you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your money, where other people are spending all their money on frivolous things, especially like at a time like this, is overconsumption and overindulgence, right? Other people are just wasting their time doing that, right? Wasting your time getting fat, so that you can then go and afford to pay for all this extra food that you're eating because you got a food and sugar addiction, to then go and pay for these GLP-1s that everybody's doing now, because now we need medication for weight loss, which is another thing that's irritating me, right? That other person is spending that same amount of money to train, to pay for a coach that can help them, to buy the right gear to enter into smaller competitions. They're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? I am a believer of that phrase, we all have the same 24 hours, because we do. And it just seems like everybody's using it differently, and the losers tend to have every excuse under the book as to why they justify it. And that's why I realized that, wow, so I have not been justifying myself, because I've acknowledged that, yes, I've done wrong and I have my reasons. But it's not good enough. Like, my goal is always to move forward from anything that I think is destructive about me. But then I'm realizing that, why am I the only one in this boat a lot of the time? Why am I the only one in this boat? Why am I the one who's always putting all this pressure on myself? Listen, I'm gonna let people be disappointed. I'm gonna let people do whatever. I don't care anymore, because guess what? At least, if anything, and I know this is gonna sound not nice for some people, but this is what I think. Well, with all the times that we're in, and with the things happening in the world, I'm one of the few people who's aware of what's actually happening. And I promise you, it's, I said it to you guys before, and I'll say it again, and it's already happening. Hence why people are watching my videos, despite the fact they can't hold a serious conversation with me in real life. When all is said and done, and everything that's happening in the world happens, and no one else has a plan because everybody's been too busy playing kumbaya, bestie buddies, support systems, and whatnot, guess who everybody's going to want to come to? Like, that's what I'm saying. The Joseph story arc is very much my life, I feel like, in so many ways in the Bible. And actually, to be honest, that is why I do love reading the Bible, because I feel like I relate to the characters in the Bible. Which again reminds me, and going back to what I said before, that the humbling lesson of it all is that this is what it means to be a child of the Lord. The only people you have are the other people in the same boat with you. Hence why I have you guys, and I've formed some really lovely friendships and relationships with you all. Otherwise, basically, everybody else is the enemy, as in, like, not you made them the enemy, they make you their enemy, and so that makes them become your enemy because they chose it. Because again, so many things that people have said and done and do in my life, I'm like, you just actually didn't have to do that. Like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to be involved. You didn't have to be there. You didn't have to, like, no one's forcing you. Like, I'm not forcing anybody to do nothing. I'm not out here watching other people's lives. I don't know what's happening in other people's lives for the most part, because I'm busy focused on my own life. And this is exactly what I say to you. It's just funny to live it out. And it's crazy because, like, on the other flip side, right? And this is what makes me feel like this is also cruel, right? I have a friend, a male friend, and I've mentioned him a couple of times because he's one of the only few people that I can stomach being around for more than about 10 minutes. Once again, he's obviously decided he's going to the freaking army. One of the genuinely the one of the best men I know personally, and he's leaving next month. So in the midst of me dealing with people that are quite happy to just, behave however and talk to me however and treat me however, I have the one person who I actually like to speak to and actually spend time with, right? And they, because their sense of duty, again, you see what I mean, and sense of responsibility and all of that, because he's like, he's doing so much for just everybody around him, God bless him. And he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And that's one of the reasons why we became close in the first place, because I was like, I don't know that anybody else is ever actually concerned about how he's doing, because he's looking after everyone. And I'm like, I don't know that he has a person like that actually is concerned about his personal well-being, that's not just like taking from him, like either financially and or otherwise, or ready to always call in a favor because he's always busy and he's always working. And so really, a lot of the reason I see him is because I'm concerned for his mental, physical, emotional, everything state. So I'm kind of just keeping my eye on him in that aspect. And also, he's a really good friend, like, and we see everything the same, like, to be honest, because he every now and then he crashes out about the same things I'm crashing out about in the world and stuff, which is so refreshing. It's nice to talk to somebody who actually sees things for what they are. But he's decided, he's going to the army. Yeah, when he first told me that, I cried about it for a couple of days because I was just like, for so many reasons. A, I'm worried about him, and I told him that I will kill him if he dies. But B, and this is like the reason why I'm bringing it up, why is it always the freaking people contributing to the group project that are always the ones putting themselves on the firing line and are always the ones who end up like I said, like in my favorite TV show, like, which I don't talk about it a lot because I am kind of gatekeeping, and it's not One Piece. You might think it is, although I have caught up on One Piece, which taught me this lesson all over again. Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, right? And in the show, I'm going to spoil it, right? In the show, basically, these bunch of kids, they're all orphans in Mars, make a journey. They meet up with a girl whose dad is going to sacrifice her because she's standing up for the children, basically. The more I realize I relate to this girl's character, but it didn't hit me until long after the fact. But basically, she's trying to go to Earth, so she wants to speak up against, the what they're doing with the kids, because the kids are basically considered nothing, like, and other humans also, they're considered like human debris, like literally debris. So they're sold for pennies and they're sold as slaves, right? So she wants to go and fight for the independence of the children in Earth, but her dad is all up in the government and he doesn't want her to rock the boat. So he's prepared to sacrifice her along with these other bunch of orphan boys. They're all going to get sacrificed together. Because they can't have this, and obviously he's had pushback because his buddies and all this are like, your daughter's creating problem for us, yeah, and all of this. So anyways, they're supposed to be killed, but they end up protecting themselves because these young boys, they've had to fight for each other, and like they are tough now. They're tough now. They've been through hell and back, and so they and managed to fight off the enemy, and then they will discover what happened. They take down the adults that did this to them, yeah, and then they decide that, hey, since they had promised that you know what I'm saying, they had so much more honor than the adults did. But and I notice this with kids nowadays as well, like when I'm teaching them, that a lot of them have so much more genuine honor about them than adults do. Anyways, they decide that because they promised that she was going to get taken to Earth, they're going to take her. Not that they have the experience, not that they have the knowledge of anything. They know how to fly these spaceships. They kind of just figure it all out. And there's a couple of adults who see what they're doing and are like, hey, we're going to come along with you. Like, we're going to help you guys to do this. And then so the whole show is about their journey from Mars to Earth, and they fight in these huge mobile suits. And this is my favorite thing because they're in these big giant suits and they're like fighting in the middle of outer space, and the warfare is just incredible. You guys know I love me a fight scene, and I love when there's like different weapons happening. We've got guns, we've got swords, we've got like I love it. So good. Anyway, they're fighting and a lot of things happen, and they're having kind of like what's happening in One Piece, where they come up against like a whole fleet of the government that's supposed to like take them down. They're like, we're going to get these pipsqueaks out in a second. And then you got this small group of these kids and a couple of others who then take them out, and they're like, how did they get past us, blah 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 blah. And it's great. It's got everything I would want in the show, right? The storyline that I feel like I can relate to, because then they end up picking up another guy. It's all very dark, right? They end up picking up another guy who at first was against them, and then he ends up teaming up with them because he's one of the sons of one of the like top levels in the government. And turns out he's not even the biological son. He was chosen as a child for them to adopt. But it's really creepy because like all the kids looked exactly the same. And so this older guy has a thing. And it's like, it's never said, but it's implied. And it took me a few times of watching it to realize that he was chosen, to be, abused in a sexual manner, which is just dark. So when he sees these kids sticking up for what it is, even though he's with the government and he's supposed to like not do what he's doing, he ends up getting caught up because he sees them like fighting for something that he actually like. They little do they know that they have a lot more in common. Anyways, they all make it to Earth eventually, and I do believe this show is the future. This is why I'm bringing it up. I believe this show is the future. Mobile Suit Gundam Mind Blooded Orphans, 50 episodes. I believe this show is the future. Like, this is where we're headed. Because like I said, the darkest thing I've realized this year is that adults definitely don't care about kids. Kids are just the go-to for whatever. Like, even historically, people, when they would need things, they're doing this in Africa now as well still, and in a lot of countries all over the world. In the entertainment industry, child stars, they're coming out now. It's going to be the same with the influencers in the future. The influencer kids, they're going to be the ones coming out very soon in the next 10 years. We'll be having the same experience that we're having. Like some of us who grew up watching a lot of these shows, I feel like my entire childhood was a lie because I'm watching these kids who can handle more than other people can, which is why they're able to do it, being taken advantage of for the sake of my entertainment, just to now know they were being tortured. It was never worth it. It was never worth it. So now I feel like I don't trust anything, as I don't want to be supporting something or giving my attention or using my power if it's going to, be abusing others. And I feel like this is what's going to happen with the influencer kids of today. It's all fun and games, all these family channels and these mums sharing all this stuff about their kids and stuff, yeah. But fast forward when those kids become adults and life hits them like a ton of bricks after that prefrontal, like it's happening to me. And they realize that everything was a lie and everything is actually horror and actually life is not worth living. And we would have preferred that the people in question giving birth to us had just opted not to do that in the first place. You know what I mean? Why did I have to? I don't want to be the sperm that won. I want to be the sperm that lost. That's the only time I want to lose, is I want to be the sperm that lost. Why did I not get to be the sperm that lost? But anyway, so, so they get to Earth. She manages to start speaking up, but the government is, the closer they're getting to it, the heavier the government's coming up against them, right? And they've labeled them again. demons. So the kid Mikazuki, right, who's like their best fighter, and he's just freaking insane. Because again, the government's people, they've all been trained up to use these weapons, so they are trained. But these are just kids who are just figuring it out as they go along. And yeah, so when they get to Earth, they're fighting further and further. But they're like, we need to get her to this meeting. There's going to be some big like UN style meeting where she was going to speak up. Anyways, lo and behold, she makes it. They make the changes in the government. But here's the kicker, and why I brought this up and why it links into my friend deciding to go to the army, right? Well, by the time that does happen, all of the guys who were like, most of the guys except from I think two who were the ones fighting, bearing in mind they're all fighting for the sake of the good of the overall group project of everybody in the world, and particularly the kids and the human debris, the humans who are being treated as if they're less than, you know. Most of them died in battle. Most of them died in battle. Most of them died fighting for each other and for everyone. And so then, once all is said and done on the other side, right, Mikazuki dies as well, which is sad. That one killed me because him and, anyway, I won't get into whatever, you know. But like, if they get to the end, the government and the other adults take all this credit for like, oh, we've changed things now and the world is a better place. And it's like, you guys were literally fighting against them the whole entire time. Like, literally, these kids, these orphans gave up their entire lives to fight for this. And now, so that last episode, I hate it. When I first watched it, I was so upset at it, and just watching the government people frolicking around it like as if they've done something. Like, yeah, you're all alive now, because while other people were out there fighting for their lives, literally traveling planets and figuring everything else by themselves, you were just there frolicking, enjoying your group settings. That's exactly how I feel. Come to think of it, the more I was telling the story about the show, and I watched it for the first time some years ago, and the other day I watched a couple of episodes again. This is the reality of the world. This is reality. Like, I know this is dark, and I've been back and forthing about if I should even make a video talking about this, because it is kind of dark, but this is what it is. This is exactly what it is. This is the world we live in, and this is what happens when you're in the kingdom of heaven. Because like, even with this friend of mine, like the fact that he's doing this because he's like, oh, he feels like he's not doing enough in life. I was like, not doing enough in life, my friend. And the amount of things that he's doing and the amount of people that rely on him. And I was like, you think you're not doing enough in life, that you now need to go and put yourself out there? What the frigging heck? And to fight for your country. Wow. This is what I'm saying. The juxtaposition of these situations I be finding myself in. I got one person nitpicking the hell out of me, telling me why they don't think of why I'm calling my channel The Winning Team, and picking out like one thing. Because this is what I've realized as well. Listen, I'm a human being. So if we want to, we're always going to be able to find. That's what I had to realize, that someone's always going to be able to find something about me to critique me on, if that's so much their desire. That someone's always going to find something. It's like, you know, that phrase that people say. I remember my mum saying this to me when I was like a teenager. I remember her saying like about why you should never go looking through a man's phone, and how like if you're looking for something, you're gonna find it. I don't know why that came up that day, but I remember her saying that. She was like, if you want to look for something, you're gonna find it, like, kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? So true. Like, if you're in that headspace of I'm gonna try and find a critique, you're obviously gonna find one. That's why people on the internet, like even Jessie Nelson's another great example. You know, people couldn't pick on her for her singing voice because she's an incredible singer. People couldn't pick on her for her to call her ugly because she's clearly not ugly. People couldn't say she wasn't nice, she didn't have style, she wasn't a vibe. The only thing that people could pick on her for was her body size, and only because she wasn't the traditional like tiny Victoria's Secret slim level. I think she had a beautiful body, like I said, and I'd rather her body than a lot of these other bodies myself personally. That's just me. And so of course, because people wanted to hate, they couldn't have anything else to hate on her for, so they had to find that out. And this is where I'm like, you guys see this look on my face, right? It's like, I just feel like, you know, I've been playing it Mrs. Nicey Nice, you know, and I've been like kind of shying away still, and I've been, you know, whatever, and I'm like, you know what, me turning the tables, it only works out badly for everybody else who's coming up against me. Because at the very least, even if the whole world turns against me, even if everybody continues to lie on my name, even if you drive me to insanity, right? Because it's hurtful when these things happen. I think because I take things in my stride, people don't realize how much their words are actually hurting me. I just don't have to freak out about it in the ways other people do, you know? And it's like, you know what, even if I don't have any regrets, because I know I all I've ever wanted is to see everybody win. So I've never intentionally wanted to tear people down. I have been the problem. I have had my moments and all of this, but all I want is to see everybody win. So if I'm going to be punished in this life for that, so be it. So freaking be it. Because you know what? I can die with that. I can die and I could get to heaven and I can go and see Elijah and David and Joseph and Esther and Mary and all these people and Abraham and Noah, and I can see them, and I can walk there confidently, feeling like, I lived my life to be Christ like, and that's what Christ did. Christ, he sacrifices himself. That's why I'm like, love don't live here. Love don't live here. Christ had to sacrifice himself. That's why it's crazy how Christians consider themselves Christians. And it's like, you're not prepared to suffer in any way for your love, and you're not even prepared to endure for the sake of your love. You allow things in life. This is why I talk about not making excuses. You allow things in life to change who you are, for the worse. That's horrible. Because like, for me, that's so unchrist. Like, for me, it's like, when I go through things, it gives me more compassion for others rather than gives me more resentment for others, because I feel compassion that, like, if I'm going through this, that means I'm probably not the only one who's going through this. Like, if I've going through a heartache or heartbreak, or I've experienced this from this person, that means other people have experienced that as well. And for that, I'm like, let's all congregate together and let's look after each other, and like, and let me be there for you, and let me make sure that you feel seen and heard. Like, I don't look at the things I've been through and build up some entitlement as to what I now feel like I deserve because of whatever. I more so feel like I just want to do my best to make sure that no one, anyone, has to endure some of the things I have endured or I do endure. That's where I'm like, where is love anymore on this planet? And it's not here. And that's why I'm having this experience, because you can't love the world and love God at the same time. You can't operate like the world and operate under God at the same time. You're operating under one, and each other makes each other uncomfortable in each other's presence. That's how that works. So if you're of the world and you're amongst people who are not of the world, if you're of the world and you're amongst people who's of God, you're not going to get along, because you're set apart. It's two different stories altogether. Like, it's a completely different everything. Because the standard of love in this world is as good as words. You say you love somebody and that's it. You say you love something. We say we love children and that's it. We don't love children here. We don't. Like, especially in my job, like, it's so funny because there's this new thing. Actually, I'm going to talk about this separately in another video, because there's this whole new thing that they're doing now called AP. This is what I've been getting loads of jobs for. It's called alternative provision. More and more kids are unable to work in the normal school setting. So now they're trying to get teachers to go into people's homes to teach kids in smaller groups, which, again, this is why some of us talk about things like homeschooling. It's almost as if we were smart enough to know that this was going to be needed. It's becoming more and more common. In fact, those are mostly the jobs I get that when people find my information wherever, that's what they're all reaching out about. AP, we're desperate for teachers. We're desperate because we've got more and more kids are being allocated to us by the government. Yeah, because the kids can't function in school, because the school's not fit for purpose. And now, because we're not willing to call it for what it is and address the real problem, which is that love don't live here. We don't know how to love anymore. Parents these days are having kids because they expect to do minimal work, and they probably would have never had them if they had to homeschool. Now we're dealing with the backlash of that. Now kids are getting into school. They don't even know how to use the toilet for themselves. Like, it's actually scary. Like, the basic skills are like slacking now, to the point where we're expected to put up with more as teachers, like, because of the state that kids are coming in at. And it's just common now. Once upon a time, these were like the one or two rare occasions. Now it's like, no, it's like a huge exodus is happening out of the education system, and it's just not working for a lot of kids. And eventually, I can foresee it, and I knew this would happen. Eventually, there's going to be more people in need of this alternative provision stuff than there's going to be people in the actual classroom anymore. And you know what's crazy about that? They're paying way better for this AP stuff. They're paying way better. And it's crazy how even at the start of the year, these jobs I was getting offered, they were paying one amount. And then by the time we've gone past this time of the year, they're offering like 10 to 20 pounds more per hour for the same jobs. This is how desperate we are. and we're desperate because the system is trying to fix, people are trying to fix this issue that starts at the home. That's why I said entropy started with Adam and Eve. Everything starts in the home, because if it's all going wrong there, it doesn't matter how much we sweep things under the carpet, it doesn't matter how much we pretend, it's going to show itself out in the world. How you conduct yourself at work, how your kids conduct themselves at school, it's going to show itself. There's no hiding away from it. That's why I'm opting not to hide. But anyways, guys, I'm going to talk about that more in a separate video maybe. But I just wanted to get this off my chest, that like it's just been a humbling year, and just realizing that I'm just literally right, going to hospital, realizing I was right again. Like it's horrible. And I'm just like, God, I can't do another year of this. I can't do going into 2026 and then this is just where we're at. It's enough of the knowledge. We need to move into the part where we move into the promised land. So yeah, anyways, you guys, if life's a game, it's pay to win. I don't know where they were going with this channel at the moment, because I'm all over the place mentally, because I'm scared to end the year like this, to end the year sitting here in this position making videos like this. This is my greatest fear. And that's where my anxiety is coming from. I never really explained that, but that actually is where it's coming from. Anyways, you guys, if life's a game, it's pay to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.